All right, let's talk about finance. When you hear that word, what comes to mind? Probably spreadsheets, right? Endless charts, cold, hard numbers. But what if the real secret to mastering finance isn't just about crunching the numbers? What if it's actually about understanding people? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into a professional journey that did exactly that. It connected the dots between the data and the very human stories that create it.
And this quote really gets to the heart of it all. Think about it for a second. That sales number on a report, it's not just a digit, it's a story. It's a story of a customer who found something they needed. And that expense report, that's the story of a team putting in the work. So this belief that finance is basically the language a business uses to tell its own story, well, that's what kicked off a really unique career path.
Okay, so our story starts in a pretty familiar place if you're in the finance world. A master's degree in accounting. You know the drill. It's all about rules, precision, and digging through data to find out what's really going on. The goal was super clear. To become fluent in the language of business, you had to master the numbers first.
But then, just 2 years in, something changed. Now, in a field where you usually follow a pretty straight path, this was a big, deliberate pivot. It wasn't about running away from finance. Not at all. It was about moving towards the very people whose actions create all those numbers. It was a quest to find the why behind the what.
And this timeline lays it out perfectly. You see that jump? From accounting to customer relations? That wasn't just a random job change. Nope, it was a totally strategic move. It was like testing the theory that to really get the full financial story of a company, you can't just sit behind a desk. You've got to be on the front lines, actually listening to the customers. The main characters in the whole story.
So again, this pivot wasn't about leaving finance behind. It was all about building a bridge between two worlds that, let's be honest, almost never talk to each other, the super analytical world of finance and the super empathetic world of customer relations. The whole idea was to bring these two seemingly opposite viewpoints together. And here you can see the two sides of that bridge. On one side, you've got your traditional finance skills, analyzing numbers, managing operations. On the other side, you have the human skills, listening, understanding needs, solving problems. Okay, so think about this. A customer's late on a payment. The pure finance brain might just fire off an automated reminder, but the combined approach, it tries to understand why they're late. Then you can find a solution that actually works for them and for the business. That right there, that's the power of this whole perspective.
So having this unique background, this kind of bilingual skill set, led to a really clear mission: to modernize and demystify operational finance. The goal is to take this human-first approach and just make it accessible to everybody, to break down all those complicated ideas that make finance seem so intimidating to so many people.
And we're not talking about some abstract, high-level theory here. The focus is on the practical stuff, the real engine room of a business. We're talking about accounts receivable. That's the money coming in. Accounts payable, that's the money going out. And credit analysis, which is basically figuring out who you can safely do business with on credit. These are the gears that literally control a company's cash flow. Of course, modernizing these days also means using the right tools, and that includes AI. But the philosophy here isn't about replacing people. No way. It's about using AI to take care of the boring, repetitive stuff. To simplify tasks, speed things up, and make everything more secure. That frees up the human finance pros to focus on what they do best, the human stuff like strategy, communication, and creative problem solving. And the whole approach here isn't about pretending to be some guru who has all the answers. It's more like being a fellow traveler, just openly sharing what's being learned, what's being tested, and maybe most importantly, what he wishes he'd known earlier. It's all about transparency and helping the entire community get better.
And the end goal is to empower pretty much everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a student just trying to wrap your head around the basics, or a seasoned professional looking to up your game, or even a whole company that wants to get its financial house in order. The idea is for this knowledge to be accessible and genuinely useful to all.
Okay, so what does all of this add up to? Well, it all builds towards a really powerful way of thinking about what truly keeps a business alive and kicking.
And here it is, the ultimate takeaway. Strong accounts receivable, accounts payable, and credit management, these things aren't just boring back-office chores. They are the absolute beating heart of a solid business. They control the flow of cash, which is literally the lifeblood of the company. If you've got a strong heart, you've got a healthy, resilient business that can handle just about anything.
So this really leaves us with one critical question to ask ourselves. It's a challenge to look past the spreadsheets for a minute and ask something much more fundamental about our own organizations.
So I'll leave you with this. How strong is your business's heart?